is Marilyn Manson a misunderstood genius who's been witch hunted for his money and fame? Or is he a monster hiding in plain sight? Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is something a little bit different to what I usually do. I have been toying with this idea for so long, and after recent comments that I saw online, I was like, okay, I need to do this. I need to just get it out. I just need to, alright? So today I have gathered you all here for a talk about Marilyn Manson and all the allegations and controversies surrounding him. I am going to remain completely impartial throughout this video, and I have gathered evidence and testimonies from both sides of the argument, and I am sat here presenting them to you, the core of YouTube. This video does contain some extremely sensitive topics, and I won't be censoring any words, which some viewers may find upsetting, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. Also, everything in this video is alleged. Do not come suing me. All you'll get is me crusty old lipsticks, and none of them are full. I also do encourage healthy conversation in the comments below, but please remember what you say online in regarding to Marilyn Manson or anyone else you look up to with similar allegations. Manson or the alleged victims probably won't see your comments, but there's a good chance your friends, your family, your work, they will. So please keep the conversation below respectful. So let's start at the beginning. Marilyn Manson was born Brian Hugh Warner in 1969 in Canton, Ohio to Barbara, I love that name, Babs, I just love the name Babs. He was born to Barbara and Hugh Angus Warner. He was an only child and claims that childhood was very dark and difficult, in which he was molested by a neighbour and bullied by children. He was raised Episcopalian and attended a heritage Christian school, an experience which he later claimed would give him a negative perspective of Christianity and ultimately impact his views on human nature and religion. In his teens, he moved to Fort Lauderdale. Probably said that wrong, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say a lot of words wrong throughout this, and I do apologise. I've been reading them online and it's really hard to know. English may be my first language, but I'm not so good at it. So in his teens, he moved to Florida, where he later studied journalism at a Florida community college. In 1989, Brian met guitarist Scott Petesky at Fort Lauderdale Club. The two quickly formed a unique sound and provocative image together, and Brian adopted the stage name Marilyn Manson. He got the name from two 60s cult icons, Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. And Scott Petesky used the stage name Daisy Berkowitz. And together with Brian Tutanic, stage name Olivia Newton-Bundy, they formed Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids. One of the first albums I ever bought. Not when it came out, like I wasn't born, but it was one of the first like albums I bought when I was getting into me grungy days. It was like Murder Dolls album. I think it was Marilyn Manson, Hollywood, and Spooky Kids. Oh, we're going back. In 1993, the band met with Trent Reznor. Love him. Singer of the band 9 Inch Nails, and they were offered a record deal, and that is when they dropped the Spooky Kids, not literally, just the name, and the whole band became just Marilyn Manson. The group released multiple influential albums throughout the 90s. Hollywood is one of my personal favourites, as is Antichrist Superstar. I think no matter what, I think those albums are perfection. I would definitely say, though Manson, in my opinion, isn't as popular now, he seems to have been at his peak throughout the 90s, early 2000s, but I was a little baby, so I didn't personally get to experience the hype. As well as being a major musical influence of the 90s, Marilyn Manson personally, not the whole band, him, also had quite a significant cultural impact on society, as his performances at the time were seen as promoting drugs, sex, violence, gore, and Satanism towards 90s teenagers. Won't somebody please think of the children? He grew criticism from family advocacy groups and Christian fundamentalists, particularly during the release of the 1996 album Antichrist Superstar, and people picketed. They marched, they picketed, they made signs. It looks like anarchy.
In the days leading up to the show, protesters surrounded the Coliseum. A small but vocal group objected to Manson's image, music, and reputation.
This is not of God, it's of Satan. Since kicking off his Dead to the World tour in October of '96, Manson has met opposition at almost every stop along the way.
If they're going to have an atmosphere here that praises Satan, we're going to lift Jesus high.
Marilyn Manson fans and Christians clash outside the Coliseum, both preaching their beliefs to the other.
Christian groups and fans of Marilyn Manson went head-to-head just before tonight's concert. Members of the Citizens for Decency in America held banners that read, "He's coming soon and hell is real."
We want Mr. Manson to know that he can't have our children. God loves our children more, and he can't have them.
Because his concerts were being picketed and protested so much, in 1997, a congressional hearing led by US senators was convened to discuss concerns about the impact of media on young people, particularly the likes of Marilyn Manson and his band. Marilyn Manson would even go on to be blamed for the 1999 Columbine High School massacre, where 2 students walked into their high school and opened fire. He became a target of blame by the media for his music corrupting the youth, even though the shooters had no records, no albums, nothing to link them to listening to Marilyn's music.
Marilyn Manson can walk into our town and promote hate, violence, suicide, death, drug use, and Columbine-like behavior. I can say, not without a fight you can't.
Shock rocker, Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson has canceled the last 5 dates of his U.S. tour out of respect for those lost in Littleton. But the singer says artists like himself are not the ones to blame.
This is perhaps the sickest group ever promoted by a mainstream record company.
If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine or the people in that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now?
I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one did.
In his more personal life, he's had quite a few relationships with some very, very beautiful women, if I do say so myself. Throughout the 90s, he was engaged to Scream and Charmed actress Rose McGowan. In the early 2000s, he was married to burlesque performer Dita Von Teese. Throughout the mid-2000s, he was engaged to 13, Westworld and True Blood actress Evan Rachel Wood. And then currently he is married to photographer Lindsay Usick. So this bit especially may be very triggering to people. As I said, I'm not going to censor any words, so please proceed with caution. I'm going to go through year by year the list of accusers as best I can. These are just the ones I could find and the ones that went to court or the ones that publicly spoke about Marilyn Manson. And I do legally have to say alleged. So if I am saying alleged a lot, it's just, I legally have to say it. And if I do this, it's a direct quote. I'm not just being like I'm your friend. Like it's a quote that the person said. I'm not taking the piss. Are you ready? Let's go. In 1996, Marilyn Manson's former bassist, Gidget Gein, negotiated a lawsuit where he would receive $17,500 and 20% of royalties paid for recordings that he had written. This lawsuit, though it went to court, was allegedly not honoured. 1998. Former guitarist and founding member Scott Patesky, stage name Daisy Berkowitz, filed a $15 million lawsuit in Fort Lauderdale against Marilyn Manson, the rest of the band, and the band's attorney. Scott claimed thousands of dollars in unpaid royalties and publishing rights. The case was settled in October 1998 for an undisclosed amount. 1999. Bianca Eileen Kine revealed her identity to, in her own words, reveal her own voice after being scared for so long. She claims that Manson subjected her to horrific abuse in 1995 in New Orleans, when she was only 16 years old. And again in 1999 when the pair were in a relationship in New York and upstate. She said in an interview, Manson exploited his power and twisted influence to coerce me into his dark desires. The young girl he groomed in Louisiana became a victim of his perversion in New York. 2000. In a civil battery suit, David Diaz, a security officer from a concert in Minneapolis, sued for $75,000. Manson was later cleared of this charge. 2002. On the 3rd of April 2002, Maria St. John filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court claiming that Marilyn Manson had given her adult daughter, assistant film director Jennifer Sims, cocaine and instructing her to drive under the influence after attending a party at Marilyn Manson's home. Manson did not deny she was indeed at this party, but claims that she was taken home by a designated driver, after which she got behind the wheel of her own vehicle and was killed when it crashed into 3 parked cars. Manson is reported to have said there were absolutely no drugs or alcohol anywhere at his party. 2004. Security guard Joshua Kessler accused Marilyn Manson, who at the time was wearing only a thong and stockings, of gyrating against his face in a 2001 performance. Manson pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct and received a $4,000 fine. 2007. Manson's ex-keyboardist, Stephen Beer, who went by the stage name Madonna Wayne Gacy, filed a lawsuit for partnership proceedings. He slammed Manson, stating that the money owed to him was spent on sick purchases like Nazi memorabilia and taxidermy, including a real human skeleton of a young Chinese girl. Stephen was in the band from 1990 to 2007 and is quoted to saying of Manson, "The best thing he can do to preserve his legacy is to put a bullet in his head and prove his integrity." They ended up reaching a settlement out of court for an undisclosed amount. 2010. Marilyn's former assistant Ashley Walters sues him. Manson allegedly approached Ashley via social media in 2010 seeking artistic collaboration. By August, he had hired her as his personal assistant. In her suit, she alleges she was made to transport illegal narcotics overseas. She was treated like property and sexually offered to his famous friends. Ashley said that Manson, who often experimented with Nazi imagery in his work, coerced her into participating in anti-Semitic and misogynistic art collaborations, including wearing just underwear with Nazi jackets and smudging red lipstick over her face, because he liked to style women like they just got raped. She went on to say that people are so scared to speak up against Manson because he gets collateral on you. There is an illusion of creative freedom when in fact women are allegedly bullied over their weight and given cocaine in lieu of food. She also stated in her lawsuit that she witnessed Marilyn throw a prop skull so hard at then-girlfriend Evan Rachel Wood that it left a welt on her stomach. In emails sent to the Times magazine dated the 13th and the 15th of May 2011, Manson allegedly emailed Ashley pictures of a knife on another accuser, Esme Bianco's, torso, with the subject line, "See what happens." Her court case was dismissed due to the statute of limitations. 2011, stylist Love Bailey claims photographer Lionel DeLay asked her to style a shoot at Marilyn Manson's LA home. Bailey, a trans woman, then 21, initially jumped at the chance, but inside his house she claims Marilyn pulled a gun up to her and said, "I don't like fags." She goes on to say, "I thought he's too famous to kill me, but then he laughed and pulled the trigger. My life flashed before my eyes." The gun didn't fire and Bailey fled the house. A former modelling agent confirmed that Bailey rang them to recount the incident that just happened. A representative for Manson said he does not recall witnessing any events described by Bailey.
Howdy y'all. My name is Love Bailey. I feel it's a pressing matter that I speak directly to the camera and tell my testimony of what really happened the night I met Marilyn Manson. So that day I was doing a photo shoot with the actress. So I show up to Marilyn's house. There was his recording studio that had plastered on all the walls, hustler spreads, women scantily clad, plastered on all his walls. There was the living room where we were stationed to put hair and makeup in the glam team. And then there was his bedroom that he had in his recording studio. I noticed there was all these dark paintings on the ground.
But I used to love Marilyn Manson, and I was like, oh, I was there with Love that night. And that's when I was assisting for her. We went into the living room with all that creepy freaking art and with like the cocaine bags everywhere. Then you were gonna have us come and help you, and he was like, no assistance allowed. Don't know why you brought them. Like, they're useless. Like, they can stay outside.
I was 20 years old, and as I'm walking into his boudoir, I crawl over the sex-stained sheets that and Marilyn had just finished up whatever they were doing, and I looked over to and she was blackout wasted. And I don't know if this was from pills. She was not coherent at all. She was stumbling over. She hurt her knee on the bedside table, and Marilyn laughed at her and just let her crawl on the floor. And so I ran over to help, and as I'm, holding and trying to get her balance with her, Marilyn pulls a gun to my head, a big Glock, a metal Glock, not a toy gun. This was a real gun. And he pulls a Glock straight to my forehead and says, "I don't like faggots," as he laughs in this really dark, aggressive tone. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a humorous behavior or something to take lightly. And I remember being stunned in that moment. I felt powerless.
Called me and you were so shocked. Like you were kind of just like your life flashed before your eyes. And I remember you were kind of like traumatized about the whole thing. And you couldn't believe that you had a gun pulled to your head. And I couldn't believe it either. I was kind of like, what? Yeah, I remember that.
For so many years, I've been silenced into not saying anything because of the industry, because of these people, these photographers that will blacklist you for mentioning their name. For so long, I've been silent, but now I think it's time. I think it's time I come clean about my story and my experience.
2018. House actor Charlene Yee accused Marilyn Manson of harassment, including his alleged making sexually and racially abusive remarks on set. In a since-deleted tweet, Charlene wrote that Manson was a huge fan of the show and turned up to set one day to visit the cast. Charlene then went on to say he harassed just about every woman on the set, asking if they were going to scissor, calling her a rhino and a Chinaman. Charlene then went on to say that they hope Manson gets the help he needs. 2020. True Blood and Westworld actress and Marilyn Manson's former fiancé, Evan Rachel Wood, began testifying in Congress to help implement the Sexual Survivors Bill of Rights Act in all US states. She later testified, this time to the California State Public Safety Committee, to help pass the Phoenix Act, a bill that extends the amount of time a domestic violence survivor has to press charges against their abuser. At both of these hearings, Evan Rachel Wood did not publicly name her abuser as Marilyn Manson.
My experience with domestic violence was this: toxic mental, physical, and sexual abuse, which started slow but escalated over time, including threats against my life, severe gaslighting and brainwashing, waking up to the man that claimed to love me raping what he believed to be my unconscious body. And the worst part, sick rituals of binding me up by my hands and feet to be mentally and physically tortured until my abuser felt I had proven my love for them. In this moment, while I was tied up and being beaten and being told unspeakable things, I truly felt like I could die, not just because my abuser said to me, "I could kill you right now," but because in that moment I felt like I left my body and I was too afraid to run. He would find me. I froze, and it was as if I could see myself from the outside, and for the first time in months I felt something. Utter shame and despair. So I went numb, and soon I couldn't feel anything. I wasn't alive. My self-esteem and spirit were broken. We need to pass the Sexual Assault Survivor Bill of Rights in all 50 states. We've done this in 9 so far, and it's our job to make sure that survivors in the remaining 41 are treated with the same humanity and dignity. And this is called progress, and it starts here. Thank you.
2020, Dan Cleary, another former personal assistant to Manson, publicly named him as Evan Rachel Wood's abuser, stating that he witnessed the abuse on tour during 2007 and 2008, even before she herself had publicly come out. He also claims Marilyn Manson sucker punched him in the head during a show in South Korea. A representative for Manson said that the context is that this allegedly happened on stage at a rock and roll concert. Dan also goes on to say that Manson allegedly threatened to kill his now wife, photographer Lindsay Usick. In regards to Evan Rachel Wood, Dan went on to say, "I saw physical abuse as far as pushing and throwing things at her, breaking things, a lot of mental abuse. He would threaten to kill, cut her up, bury her, embarrassing her to the world." He carries on, "Everyone in his immediate circle knows this, but including myself is too afraid to say anything because of the code." Those of us that stay quiet do so because we are making a living, and it is hard to find work in music if you can't keep your mouth shut. But enough is enough. He goes on to say he kept quiet after Marilyn Manson bought him plane tickets to his stepmother's funeral. He said, if someone shows you a little bit of love and a lot of violence or mental anguish, a lot of people focus on that little bit of love. People like me turned a blind eye. He is a brilliant musician, incredibly smart and funny, but he's also mentally and physically abusive and a drug addict that has the ability to be super kind and emotional. It's hard to wrap your head around. 2021, singer Phoebe Bridgers tweeted that when she was a teenager, she went to Marilyn Manson's house and he referred to one of the rooms as a rape room. 2021, actress Evan Rachel Wood comes out publicly and names Marilyn Manson as her abuser. The pair dated from 2006 to 2010, while Marilyn Manson was still married to burlesque performer Dita Von Teese. At the time, Evan Rachel Wood had just turned 18 years old and Marilyn Manson was 37. Evan came forward and detailed the alleged grooming, manipulation, abuse, drugging, sleep deprivation, repetitive trauma, and rape she had experienced throughout their 4-year relationship. In 2022, she claims that Marilyn Manson essentially raped her on camera in the 2007 music video for Heart-Shaped Glasses. She alleges Manson introduced her to hard drugs, cut her off from friends and family, would give her a script of what to say when her mum phoned the house, and treated her like a child. Towards the end of the relationship, Evan claims she started a strategy called grey rocking, where she made herself dull and unresponsive, didn't laugh at his offensive jokes, didn't stick up for herself, as a way to make him lose interest. She allegedly said it was a risky move, but to agitate a narcissist, it eventually led him to get bored of her and find a new love interest. After she publicly accused Marilyn on social media, he denied the accusations and called them horrible distortions of reality. He also responded by filing a lawsuit in March 2022 citing defamation, impersonation of an FBI agent, falsifying FBI documents, and emotional distress. His suit alleges that Evan Rachel Wood and another lady, Ashley Ilma Gore, impersonated FBI to get in contact with Manson's former girlfriends to dig up dirt on him. He claims that they forged FBI letters and hacked his computer. In 2024, he dropped the lawsuit against Evan Rachel Wood and Ashley Ilma Gore and agreed to pay their court costs of around $327,000. At the same time, Evan Rachel Wood allegedly filed a police report against Marilyn Manson's current wife, Lindsay Usick, claiming she had conspired to obtain and share material and images that would ruin Evan's career as a way to shut her up. 2021. In September, Manson pleaded no contest to an assault in New Hampshire after he spat and blew his nose on a videographer during a concert. He was sentenced to 20 hours community service and ordered to pay a $1,200 fine. 2021, Limp Bizkit's Wes Borland, who played with Marilyn Manson for 9 months, spoke on a Twitch stream allegedly stating, "Can I say something real quick? Marilyn Manson, I was in the band for 9 months. He's not a great guy. Every single thing that people have said about him is fucking true. He's amazingly talented but fucked up. And he needs to be put in check and he needs to come to terms with his demons. He is a bad fucking guy. I was there when he was with Evan Rachel Wood. I was at his house. It's not fucking cool." That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Former Marilyn Manson guitarist Wes Borland has spoken out against Manson, as well as publicly stating that the recent allegations are true. The longtime Limp Bizkit guitarist guest starred on the Space Zebra Twitch stream on February 2nd, and during which took a moment to confirm the abuse allegations brought forward this week. Borland joined Manson's band in 2008 and had a short tenure until 2009. Borland went on to recall a time when he was assaulted by Manson. He tried to choke me out on stage and I flipped him over and knocked the breath out of him.
2021. Hollywood actor Corey Feldman publicly comes forward saying that Manson has allegedly been stalking and harassing him for years, causing him, and I quote, decades-long mental and emotional abuse.
I'm being treated as if I'm the abuser. I'm being called a sham, a shill, a scam artist, a user, a rapist. I've been called that.
2021. Game of Thrones actress Esme Bianco sues Marilyn Manson over sexual, physical and emotional abuse and also human trafficking charges. Esme alleges that Marilyn raped and battered her sexually. She claims when she met Marilyn she was living in London and he enticed her to move to LA to star in a music video that never came out and a movie that never happened. I actually remember this film because I was waiting for this film to come out, the film that she is referring to. Again, staying impartial, not saying this means anything, but the film that she is referring to was called Phantasmagoria, and I was waiting for this film to come out. It never came out. Manson was indeed going to direct a film about Lewis Carroll, and it was going to star, I believe, Tilda Swinton, because I love Tilda Swinton. I was following it for years, because this was for like years and years he was talking about it, and then it just never happened. But yeah, I was actually waiting for that film to come out. Sorry, right, back. Esme continues that Manson allegedly inserted himself into her visa application process, and by doing so, he was able to control her by threatening to withdraw the process at any point. She also claimed at one point he locked her in a room to stop her fleeing. She had to work for free by cleaning for him, cooking for him, and singing on his album.
How did you first come into Marilyn Manson's orbit?
So I was introduced to him by his then fiancée, Dita Fontees. When I spoke with him for the first time, the first words out of his mouth were, "I've been a fan of yours for years."
Over the next 4 years, she says they built a friendship based on their mutual interest in art and music. He gained her trust. Then in 2009, she says Manson asked her to star in a music video he was making and flew her from London to LA.
He told me that we were going to shoot it all on flip cam so that we could do it ourselves. That was like the beginning of the nightmare.
This is when she says Manson was first violent with her.
It got to the stage where he wanted to shoot the finale of the video, and he locked me in his bedroom and he tied me to a wooden prayer kneeler. I was half naked and he beat me with a whip and he filmed it.
Bianco provided ABC News with this photo, which she says is her back, marked with whiplashes after the incident.
I thought he was in love with me. I did not understand that what was happening to me was very, very wrong. And because he was incredibly manipulative. Why didn't I just run? What was I doing? It's not until we truly understand, what psychological abuse and gaslighting does to somebody that you can fathom why I would have stayed.
She goes on to say, almost 4 years ago, I did what rape victims are supposed to do. I went to the police. I described in agonizing detail how the musician Brian Warner, better known as Marilyn Manson, raped and abused me during our relationship. Despite a thorough investigation and hundreds of pieces of evidence being submitted to the district attorney's office, I am still waiting for justice. Having Esme work in LA that violated her visa. The original lawsuit also named Manson's former manager as a defendant, but his name was later removed. Manson has denied all of Esme's claims through his lawyer, and in 2023 he settled out of court. When asked if he did it to make her go away quietly, he stated that she was paid a fraction of what she wanted and it was paid for primarily by an insurance company.
ABC News spoke with a former assistant of Manson's, Ashley Walters, who said she saw Manson chase Bianco through the apartment with an axe and recalled seeing bruises on Bianco's body while she was living there.
2021. Oscar-winning composer and Nine Inch Nails god Trent Reznor makes a statement regarding a passage in Marilyn Manson's 1998 memoir, The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, which I actually have. Like, I don't know where it is, but I do have that book somewhere. I don't own many books, but that is one that I own. In the memoir, Manson wrote himself that he and Trent Reznor assaulted an intoxicated fan. Trent said in 2021, "I have been vocal over my dislike of Manson as a person and cut ties with him nearly 25 years ago. As I said at the time, the passage in Manson's memoir is complete fabrication. I was infuriated and offended back when it came out and remain so today." 2021, metal artist Otep claimed that when she used to date one of Manson's current wife, Lindsay's friends, she claims Lindsay would phone their house in the early hours of the morning in floods of tears, saying that Manson was on another drugs binge, allegedly threatening her life, throwing knives, and verbally assaulting her. 2021. Rolling Stone magazine interviews 55 people that know Manson personally as part of a 9-month investigation. In the report, the people are noted as to saying that in Manson's house there were vaginas everywhere. He had the word AIDS spray painted above his bed, rooms decorated with blood and swastikas, and photos clipped from porno mags. 2021. Singer Ashley Morgan Smithline filed a lawsuit in California accusing Marilyn Manson of sexual assault, sexual battery, and unlawful imprisonment. The case was later dismissed after she missed a filing deadline. She later came out and said that Evan Rachel Wood's lawyers put pressure on her, saying things like, "Just because you can't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen." Ashley received no money from Manson and has no intention of refiling the lawsuit. 2021. A lawsuit by an anonymous woman known only as Jane Doe is submitted. She claims that Manson assaulted her as a teenager in the 90s. The lawsuit also names defunct record label Nothing Records and its parent company Interscope as co-defendants, accusing them of being aware of all the abuse Marilyn Manson was doing. This lawsuit was dismissed due to a missed deadline, but was refiled a few days later and was eventually settled out of court. 2021, British singer Ellie Rosell of the band Wolf Alice claims she met Marilyn Manson at a festival. She wrote on Twitter, and I quote, "After his compliments about my band became more and more hyperbolic, I became suspicious of his behaviour. I was shocked to look down and see he was filming up my skirt with a GoPro." Last one that I know of. 2023. An anonymous woman alleges that throughout the 90s, Marilyn Manson groomed and assaulted her multiple times while she was underage. She claims she and a group of friends were waiting outside Marilyn Manson's tour bus after a concert, and he invited her and the younger looking girls onto the bus. She goes on to say that he allegedly asked her to write down her age, her grade in school, her phone number, and her home address. The court document states that while on the bus, defendant Brian Warner performed various acts of criminal sexual conduct on the plaintiff, who was a virgin at the time. Plaintiff was scared, upset, in pain and humiliated. And after he was done, the defendant Brian laughed at her and shouted, "Get the fuck off my bus." I need to take a break. No matter what side of the fence you're on, that is a lot to hear. So now let's talk about the people that have publicly continued to support Marilyn Manson. Some famous faces have come out incredibly strong and very loud and defensive of Manson. So let's talk about it. Hollywood tattooist Kat Von D has publicly come out in support of Marilyn Manson, sharing photos of them together, saying he has visited her family home and that they are currently working on an unrevealed project together. She also claims to have seen evidence that proves Marilyn Manson is innocent.
I love Marilyn Manson. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's actually, like, you know, making a lot of deep, meaningful changes that it's not my place to talk about that for him. But like, if you knew, you'd feel bad about criticizing, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Marilyn's ex-assistant, Paula Baby. Paula came forward saying that Marilyn was a kind and sensitive person. Paula first met Marilyn when she was 17 years old and began managing his family home with, at the time, wife Dita Von Teese. She goes on to say that she rarely saw Dita before their divorce in 2007. It was around the time Manson's mother had begun showing signs of dementia, and he doesn't fare well with being alone. She stopped working for him in 2009 and stated he never behaved violently in her presence. She even returned to work for him in 2012 to 2016. She goes on to say, I think he related to BDSM as an artistic aspect, or what it represented. In an interview, she allegedly went on to talk about a violet wand, which is a fetish sex toy, electrical... I don't know how to describe it, which was mentioned by multiple accusers. She claims he kept it in a curio cabinet along with relics and World War II memorabilia, but it was not used for the purposes that people are claiming it was used for. She goes on to say, I find it hard to believe that he would be capable of the physical abuse the lawsuits describe. Director Asia Argento shared pictures on her Instagram of her and Marilyn Manson snuggled up together with the words forever written at the bottom. She was also seen liking posts from Marilyn Manson fan pages with the hashtag Evan Rachel Wood is a liar. Musician and friend rocker Alice Cooper was asked in an interview what he thought about the allegations. He stated, it's funny about Marilyn in that I know Marilyn. When we toured together, we got along so well. I never noticed that streak in him, if it's there. I believe in the word.
We are theologically miles apart.
Very true.
Me being a Christian and an active Christian, and him being a priest in the Satanic Church.
The Antichrist superstar.
The Antichrist superstar. So we've talked about that and everything. I don't want to blow his image, but he's a very nice guy. When we toured together, we got along really quite well.
TikTok troll and Falling in Reverse frontman Ronnie Radke has a few TikToks of him defending Marilyn Manson, and this year the pair even released a song together. Shock rocker and former murder doll Wednesday 13 posted a picture standing next to Manson with the caption, hanging out with my pal at Marilyn Manson. The Osbournes. On an episode of their podcast, Sharon said, I go by what I know, and the way he was with us was very respectful. He always acted very appropriately. And Ozzy went on to say he found all the allegations hard to believe.
It's a different time. There was a lot of crazy shit that clearly happened, or allegedly happened.
And a lot that didn't.
Yeah?
Yeah. And a lot that didn't. So it's,
I think for that, I think my stance is, listen, I reserve, my rights for comment until after everything's come to the surface. But my experience with Manson was always...
It's weird that you all went, and then it all got... It's all right.
Listen, I go by what I know, and the way he was to us was very respectful. He was always acted very appropriately, whatever, and all I know is that every night there were
it hard to believe.
Women waiting to get on his tour bus, begging to get on the tour bus, and my whole thing is, what did you think he was going to do? Show you his stamp collection?
It's a good point.
What was he going to do? Teach you to knit?
He might have a good stamp collection, how do you know?
No, but what were they going to do? Crochet on the bus?
Marilyn was also in attendance at the private friends and family only funeral of Ozzy Osbourne. Ex-fiancée and actress Rose McGowan was seen dining out with Manson this year in LA, and until recently she was following him on Instagram. When asked publicly about the allegations, she said they were not her experience with him. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp has publicly supported Marilyn Manson for years. During Johnny Depp's own personal lawsuits, text messages between the two came up, and the two very frequently called each other brother, said I love you, and they seem to have an incredibly close relationship. Depp has also appeared in multiple music videos with Manson, as well as appearing live in concert with him. Lindsay Usich. After meeting in 2009, Lindsay flew to Manson's house in 2010 to photograph him. She claims they sat on the roof, stared at the stars, and shot pellet guns at nothing. They stayed very close before eventually marrying in February 2020. Lindsay has stuck by her husband throughout all the allegations and continues to very strongly publicly support him. Aaron Lewis, frontman of the band Stained, very recently praised Manson, claiming he was an evil genius. He went on to say, "Brian is one of the most intelligent, profound conversations I have ever had with somebody. I use the word evil lightly, but it's like he's an evil genius," he continued. It's all been calculated. He knows exactly what he is doing.
I have a lot of acquaintances in the industry. Me and Marilyn Manson text all the time.
Yeah.
He'd actually surprise you.
I interviewed him in the 90s, and I thought he was smart. In maybe 1999 at the Chateau Marmont in L.A.
Brian is one of the most intelligent, profound conversations I have ever had with somebody. And I use the word evil lightly, but he's like an evil genius. He is fully aware of every single button he is purposely pushing. He's a genius. Like it's all been calculated. It's all like he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what buttons he's pushing, and he's pushing them on purpose.
Interesting.
He's amazing.
Former band members Tim Skold and Rob Holiday remain very loyal to the musician, with Rob stating that he never witnessed any abuse in any setting, and Tim stating that Manson is a sweet, misunderstood outcast. His ex-wife, burlesque dancer Dita Von Teese, put out a statement after concerned fans flooded her Instagram, and she responded by saying she was never abused by Manson. She wrote, "The details made public do not match my personal experience during our 7 years together as a couple. Had they, I would not have married him in December 2005. I left 12 months later due to infidelity and drug use."
I can speak fondly about him now because it's like, if you would have asked me like 4 years ago, I'd have been like, shut it down, I can't talk about it, but we're friends now and it's fine, you know.
Manson himself put out a statement after being removed from 2 TV projects, American Gods and Creepshow. He said, "Obviously my life and my art have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners," and claimed his accusers were misrepresenting the past. So I have been sat here for hours, but I feel emotionally drained. I feel like I just want to snuggle up with a hot water, but I don't use hot water bottles, but I want to snuggle up with a hot chocolate. I want to get a hot chocolate, put my pajamas on and just snuggle up in bed, because that was a lot. As I said at the start of this video, everything is alleged. We do not know these people personally. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Not taking sides at all. This goes for everybody in the entire world. Someone could be the nicest person in the world to you and they could go home and beat their dog. We do not know what happens behind closed doors. 2 things can be true at the same time. So is Marilyn Manson a misunderstood genius who's been witch hunted for his money and fame? Or is he a monster hiding in plain sight and repeatedly getting away with it? Let's discuss it in the comments. I'm also going to put some helplines and some websites in the description below should you need them. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you so much for watching. Get my blankie and snuggle up. Take care of yourself and stay weird.
Well, you don't seem particularly scary at all, if I may say so. Is that disappointing?
Well, I think the scariest thing about me is that there are different sides to what I do. You know, that you know, I'm sure if there were a devil and you were to meet him, he'd be quite charming, I'm sure. I don't think he would, you know, set you on fire right there on the spot.